Hello BookTube, welcome to LizziefayeLovesBooks. I'm Elizabeth and this is part 2 of what I read in the Around the Year in 52 Books Challenge. I've already posted the video showing what I read for challenges 1 through 26. So this video will have the books I read for challenges 27 through 52. So let's get started. For a book with a beautiful title, I listened to Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway. For a biography or memoir, I listened to Life on the Road by Charles Corral. For an author who writes under one or more names, I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. And for a fairy tale from another culture, I listened to Inkspell by Cornelia Funke. For a book of YA fiction, I read The One by Kiera Cass. And for a book of historical fiction, I listened to Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. Now, prompt number 33 was a little tricky for me. The challenge is to read the 16th book on your TBR. Well, that changes constantly for me. As I read books, of course, books move up. And then at the beginning of each month, sometimes I go through my TBR list and I bump the books up that I want to read during that month so that I have them right at the top of my TBR list. So I wasn't really sure at what point I was supposed to pick the 16th book. And at the beginning of October, I looked at what my 16th book was, and it was a Miss Julia book, and I thought, well, that's probably what I would read. So in November, when we were getting ready to travel for Thanksgiving, and I was trying to figure out what audiobooks I was going to take with me, I had already listened to all of the books I had from the library on Playaway except one. It was The Mammoth Hunters by Jean M. Auel. And I thought, well, I guess at the time I thought I don't really need that for one of the challenges, so I'll just go ahead and listen to it anyway because I needed an audiobook. And I looked at my TBR and it was number 16. So this became the book number 16 from my TBR. I really enjoyed it. It's the book 3 in the Earth Children series. So I was excited that I could actually make this count for one of the challenges because it's quite a chunker. For a book about mental illness, I read What Alice Forgot by Leanne Moriarty. I was reading this for book club anyway, and I figured memory loss is a mental illness, so I could count this one. Challenge number 35 is to read an award-winning book, and I read Echo by Pam Munoz-Ryan. It is a Newbery Honor book. And for a book about a different culture or religion, I am counting The Valley of Horses by Jean M. Auel. This is book 2 in the Earth Children series, and even though this is an ancient culture, it is still very different than anything I'm familiar with, so I figured I could count it. Number 37 was to read a book that you had seen the movie but had never read the book. And Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe was an obvious choice because Fannie Flagg is one of my favorite authors. This was the only book by her that I had not read, and the movie for this has been around since the 90s. I've seen it several times, and it was about time for me to read this book. Challenge number 38 was to read a book about an anti-hero. Well, you just don't get much more anti-heroic than Jack from the Half Upon a Time trilogy. This series was hilarious. I loved it a lot. The main characters of Jack and May were so funny and sarcastic. I just really got a kick out of this trilogy, and so Jack was definitely an anti-hero. So challenge number 39 was to read one of the suggestions that didn't make it into the final cut for the Around the Year in 52 Books challenge. So I looked back at the list of those suggestions. One of them was to read a prequel of a book series. So I had been needing to read The Kill Order by James Dashner. It's the prequel to The Maze Runner. So I was excited to have a good excuse to get it read. Number 40 is to read a novella from a favorite genre. Well, y'all know one of my favorite genres is cozy mysteries, and it just so happens that one of the books that was chosen for the Book One Cozies Club in November was a novella called The Great Turkey Caper by Madison Johns. So it worked out perfectly, and that's what I'm counting for this challenge. Challenge number 41 is to read a book about a major world event. It could be fiction or nonfiction. So one of the books I read earlier in the year for book club is Girls of Atomic City by Denise Kiernan. Challenge number 42 is to read a book from the top 100 fantasy books, and I read The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Number 43 is to read a book about things that go bump in the night. Well, since the night circus only operated at night, I'm sure that they made lots of noise, so I'm counting the night circus for this challenge. Number 44 is to read a book you are embarrassed to read in public. This is a great book, but the title is so misleading that I didn't want to read it in public. And it's The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. I'm so glad I read it. It's a wonderful book, but I just don't like the title. Number 45 is to read a book related to a hobby or passion of yours. I picked Murder in Volume by D.R. Meredith, and this book is about a mystery reading book club. Since reading mysteries is one of my hobbies too, I picked this book for this challenge. Number 46 is to read a crime story, so I picked Homicide in Hardcover by Kate Carlisle. Number 47 is to read a book with food or drink in the title, and I picked Pie by Sarah Weeks. Number 48 is to read a dystopian novel, and I read Among the Betrayed. This is book 3 in the Shadow Children series by Margaret Peterson Haddix, and this is a middle grade dystopian series. Challenge number 49 is to read a book with a great opening line, and I chose All Fall Down by Allie Carter. This is a middle grade book. It's one of our Sunshine State books for this year, and I want to read you the opening line. When I was 12, I broke my leg jumping off the wall between Canada and Germany. So think about that. Challenge number 50 is to read a book that was published originally in a language other than English. I read Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. Number 51 is to read a short story by a well-known author, and I picked The Mystery of Marie Roget by Edgar Allan Poe. And the last one, challenge number 52, is to read a book published in 2016, and I read and enjoyed The Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. So that's it. Those are what I read for challenges 27 through 52 in the Around the Year in 52 Books challenge. I really enjoyed this challenge, but I may take a break from it for 2017. I'm really in the mood to just read my bookshelves with no pressure about meeting challenges and things like that. Of course, I'm sure I will still join in on various readathons throughout the year, but unless something changes, I think I'm going to step out of this challenge for next year just to take a break. I love the challenge, and I'll probably come back to it the year after that. I don't know, we'll see. But I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it. If any of you have not done a year-long reading challenge like this, it can be a lot of fun. It forces you to look for books that you might not run into or even think about otherwise, and it's really, I think, a wonderful thing to do. So let me know if you did this challenge this year, or if you are planning to for next year. I would love to know. But that's all I have for this video. I hope you're having a great day, read a good book, and God bless you.